Let's dive right into this explainer because we are looking at the absolute peak of criminal audacity today. I mean, we're talking about a story that completely defies logic. It's this wild tale of how one man built a massive international empire out of thin air. And honestly, even more remarkably, how he just kept slipping through the fingers of the most powerful authorities on the planet over and over again. So, I want you to picture Altiplano. This is Mexico's absolute most heavily guarded facility. We're talking tall mesh fences, massive watchtowers, literally a complete no-fly zone overhead. This place is widely considered to be completely unescapable. And yet you have to ask yourself, how in the world did the most powerful drug lord on earth, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, get out of this fortress without firing a single shot, without bribing a guard at the front gate, and without climbing a single wall?
Well, the crucial thing to understand here is that his totally impossible 2015 escape didn't just happen by magic. He literally walked into his shower stall, bent over, and vanished, gone. Slipped right through a tiny 50 by 50 centimeter hole in the floor. But, to really grasp the mechanics behind this unbelievable feat, we have to trace the life of a man whose entire empire was quite literally built underground.
Section 1. The Origin. From poppy fields to cartel boss.
So Joaquin Guzman Larrera was born into just crushing poverty in the really remote village of La Tuna, way up in the Sierra Madre Mountains. Now, for a boy who would barely grow to be 1.67 meters, which by the way is how he earned the nickname El Chapo or Shorty, drug trafficking was basically seen as the only viable way out. By the time he drops out of elementary school to work the marijuana and poppy fields, his trajectory is completely set. Fast forward to the 1980s, and that uncompromising ambition turns him into this ruthless problem solver for the Guadalajara cartel. Basically, if a truckload missed its schedule, El Chapo eliminated the person responsible. Simple as that. That sheer ruthlessness earned him deep trust, so when his boss was arrested, he kept the whole business running and eventually co-founded the massively powerful Sinaloa Cartel. He had this absolute natural knack for logistics, using it to move cocaine and heroin into the US, and he actually became one of the very first people to build border-crossing tunnels. Think about that for a second. This is a kid with zero formal education forging a massive 50-country, billion-dollar enterprise.
Section 2. Bloodshed and systemic corruption. The violence that built an empire.
Now, taking and keeping power on that kind of scale, it requires absolute brutality. But it also requires something else, systemic protection. Let's look at the 1993 assassination of Cardinal Juan Jesus Posadas Chola. The official story claims that rival cartel assassins opened fire at the Guadalajara airport because they supposedly mistook the cardinal for El Chapo, just because they both drove a white Mercury Grand Marquis. Okay, but the forensic reality, the cardinal was shot 14 times at extremely close range, and he was wearing his religious robes. Come on, how do you confuse a man in full clergy robes for a cartel boss from just a few feet away? Actually, the cardinal's successor later claimed this was a state-sponsored hit because the cardinal had publicly accused government officials of having cartel ties. It perfectly highlights the massive shadow of corruption that was protecting these operations.
So, after eventually being caught in 1993 and handed a 20-year sentence, El Chapo just kept running his empire from behind bars. No big deal, right? But by 2001, he was facing the threat of extradition to the US, and he decided it was time to leave. Now, the official story here is spectacular. He supposedly bribed a guard, hid in a laundry cart, and was just wheeled right out the front door. But investigative journalists have pointed out a major flaw. The prison's checkpoints had heat and motion sensors so sensitive they could literally detect a cat. If he was in a laundry cart, the alarms would have been blaring. The much more likely reality? He just walked right out wearing a police uniform, escorted by corrupt officers. This 2001 escape really cemented his total reliance on massive systemic bribery.
I really want to pause here for a second to grasp the sheer scale of the collateral damage, because the numbers are sobering. Over 160,000 people died between 2007 and 2014. What happened was the Mexican government declared a military war on the cartels, and the power vacuums left by arrested leaders triggered these explosive, extremely deadly turf wars. El Chapo aggressively pushed into rival territories, and border areas basically turned into active war zones, with former military forces clashing right in the streets. And yet, amidst all this unbelievable bloodshed, El Chapo actually rose to become the world's most wanted criminal. He turned the Sinaloa Cartel into this global powerhouse generating billions of dollars, even landing himself on Forbes' list of billionaires.
Section 3. The DEA catches up. A high-stakes cat-and-mouse game.
Right in the middle of this chaotic period, DEA agent Andrew Hogan realized something crazy. There wasn't even a dedicated task force hunting El Chapo at the time. Can you believe that? So Hogan actually relocated his entire family to Mexico City, learned Spanish, and became fiercely determined to map out El Chapo's network. He started intercepting his inner circle's whispered instructions and tracking down encrypted BlackBerry pins. But this whole operation created a hugely frustrating paradox for authorities. On one side, you have the hunters, multi-million-dollar military operations, dozens of Marines, high-tech DEA tracking, helicopters, the works. And on the other side, the hunted, El Chapo, constantly swapping burner SIM cards and slipping away using startlingly low-tech tricks. One DEA agent literally said they couldn't catch him even if he was standing at a Starbucks across from the embassy. I mean, when Marines finally raided a group of safe houses in Culiacan, they didn't find him. What they found was a strangely placed bathtub that hydraulically lifted up to reveal a secret trapdoor, leading straight down into the city's sewer system. Just wild.
But, the Marines stayed right on his tail. Just days after that crazy bathtub escape, authorities finally cornered him. It was 2014 in room 401 of a hotel in the coastal town of Mazatlan. He had actually barricaded himself in the hotel bathroom with an assault rifle. But with his wife pleading for the safety of their young daughters who were right there in the room, he gave up. He surrendered. Authorities had finally captured the most wanted man on the planet, returning the kingpin to the supposedly unescapable Altiplano prison.
Section 4. The Final Run. The ultimate multi-million-dollar tunnel.
And that brings us full circle to that impossible shower escape we talked about at the very beginning. Guys, this was a feat of corrupt engineering that honestly makes Hollywood heist movies look super tame. Knowing extradition to the US was looming, his cartel got to work on an incredible plan. I want you to look closely at these logistical steps because they are staggering. First, they smuggled a GPS watch into his cell, literally disguised inside his prison food, so the rescue team knew the exact coordinates to dig toward. They spent an estimated $5 million and spent a whole year digging a massive 1.5-kilometer tunnel. And this wasn't some cramped dirt crawl space, oh no. It had wooden frames, full lighting, proper ventilation. They even used a custom motorcycle mounted on rails just to haul out the massive amount of dirt, and then later used that same bike as his getaway vehicle. It's even reported that his cartel flew tunnel engineers all the way to Germany for 3 months of extensive training on how to deal with the low-lying water table beneath the prison. All of that just to connect this massive subterranean highway to a tiny 50-centimeter hole right under his shower. Oh, and the guards? Yeah, video footage showed them waiting a full 20 minutes to even check his cell after he vanished from the cameras.
So he's back on the run. Now, you would think he'd want to just lay low and stay in the shadows, right? Nope. His ego demanded even more fame. He actually wanted a movie made about his life. This vanity project led to a highly secret, incredibly risky meeting with Mexican actress Kate Del Castillo and Hollywood actor Sean Penn. Penn even wrote an article about this meeting, famously asking, "What is it that removes all doubt from a man's eyes? Is it power, admirable clarity, or soullessness?" But here's the kicker. This whole Hollywood dream was a fatal error. Government sources later revealed that simply monitoring Penn and Castillo's movements inadvertently allowed authorities to track El Chapo's location directly to his remote mountain hideout.
Section 5. The messy downfall. How the kingpin was finally broken.
After surviving massive military raids, including one crazy incident where he literally fell off a cliff and had to be carried to safety by his bodyguard, the architect of the world's most sophisticated drug empire was ultimately undone by the most mundane mistakes you could possibly imagine. It's almost comical. It all started when a suspicious white van placed a massive order for tacos, which basically tipped off the Marines and led them directly to his safe house in Los Mochis. A huge firefight broke out, and true to form, El Chapo fled through a hidden drainage sewer. He pops up near a Walmart, and he and his gunmen steal a civilian car at gunpoint to make their getaway. But get this, after all the billions of dollars, the customized escape motorcycles on rails, the brilliant engineering logistics, the stolen car's engine simply broke down just a few blocks later. They managed to steal another one, but that slight delay gave the police exactly enough time to intercept them on the highway. A busted engine. That is what finally ended his freedom forever.
Following his capture, the Mexican government proudly declared mission accomplished. He was very quickly extradited to the United States, which, by the way, was the one single thing he truly feared above all else. And in July 2019, the man who spent an entire lifetime escaping was permanently locked away in a Colorado supermax prison, sentenced to spend the rest of his life behind bars.
But I really want to leave you with a provocative thought here at the end. Yes, El Chapo is locked away forever in a concrete cell he absolutely cannot dig out of. But today, the Sinaloa Cartel and other networks are operating as undeterred, incredibly strong global organizations. So, if dedicating decades and countless lives to taking down the most notorious drug lord in history didn't slow his cartel's global operations by a single day, was cutting off the head of the snake really the right strategy at all? Think about that for a minute. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I'll see you next time.